Hey, everybody, this is Roy McDonald from MacDon and Associates coming to you with the next episode of Tuesdays with Roy. Why are you laughing, Dave?
Because I was way back here when you started.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I have in the studio today, this is a good friend of mine, Dave Kubiak. He's a friend of mine. He's a client of mine. He is my pastor. You are the pastor of a church here in Metro Detroit in Warren called Paradox Church. And I'm very happy and proud to have him on the podcast today and kind of share your perspective on a few different things. Pretty pumped about that. So,
thanks, man. I'm also a client.
Yeah. Thanks for adding that in there. I appreciate that.
I wanted to do that, kind of like an advertisement. How do I know? I'm also a client.
I love it. So, give everybody a little bit of your background, who you are, what you're all about. I don't want to share all of it. I'll let you do that. So,
sure, man. I feel like there's a ton of things that could be said there, because I'm 40 now, so there's a lot of background to be shared. But I've been doing ministry, working at churches for quite a while. I've been in some other areas as well, but really started out at Gwen's. My wife's Gwen's dad was a pastor as well, and just started doing little bits of ministry here and there. A pretty small church, and worked at Kensington for a while in the area before starting our own church in, what was that now? 2017. So about 2018, 2017. Yeah. So 6 years ago now. Doesn't feel like that long ago, but we've been doing that for a little while. And just before the pandemic in 2020, the church that we started merged with another one, and now we're called Paradox in Warren.
Yeah. Yep. No, it's been good. I've been a part of the church now, like you said, since 2017. Known you for, I think since 2011.
Yes.
Yeah. It's been a while.
You were 18.
I was.
You were just a punk high school kid.
I was.
You
I'm still
and
a punk.
Holly. I remember. I actually remember. Oh man, I can turn the tables.
Yeah.
Go ahead. This is
Go
great.
ahead.
I remember Rory and Holly were actually interns.
Yeah. Holly's my wife for all of you out there who don't know.
Exactly. And I just remember all the quote unquote interny conversations we had about their relationship that was forming or not forming, depending on the day. And I got to be a part of all of that as their boss.
Yeah. Boss / counselor, which turned into friend, which is great. It's
absolutely.
Awesome. Yeah.
It's a good ending place.
Definitely. 100%. So you talked a little bit about COVID and actually going back to basically the connection that existed between you and I and how it basically blossomed into what it is today. I want to get into that more than anything, because I think in today's world, coming out of COVID, especially, and in just the techie social media based world that we are in right now, one of the things that I think lacks, that people don't think that it's actually lacking, they just don't know what healthy connection looks like. They're just basing it off of what it is that they have, is connection. And I know that at Paradox, I can say this, that's something that we believe in and we're for. But I want to hear really your perspective on this, right? Like when it comes to connection in our world, why is this so important? And in what ways do you feel like connection needs to exist for anybody out there?
For sure. And it's an interesting, we didn't really plan on going into COVID in the last couple of years. But in so many ways, everything has changed. Everything's changed over the last few years, and not just for us in the church world, but for business, for neighborhoods, people's relationships, dating, from what I hear. I'm not doing that, I'm married for almost 20 years now. But everything has changed. And there were things that were underlying that have now been brought to the surface and accelerated over the last several years. And a really easy, quick answer, it seemed, for this disconnection that was between people, groups, ideologies, politics, and even just relationally, the disconnects that everyone started to feel. At first, it was just, hey, technology, isn't it great that we can stay connected even when we're apart? And we started doing the Zoom calls and things like that. And that was fun for like a day.
Yeah.
Before everybody started going, oh my gosh, we were made for connection. We're designed just like biologically wired to connect, and that's gone. And so much of what we're experiencing now is this result of various disconnects. And that's kind of what we say paradox is. A paradox is connecting things to things that are seemingly disconnected. And so we've got a bunch of them. Some of the big ones that we're seeing right now is for this generation, millennials, really Gen Z, are really bringing to the forefront the disconnect in people's hearts and lives. We're talking more and more about mental health, and that's a really, really great thing. We didn't talk about it as much anymore. It's now more and more okay for people to say, hey, I'm broken. I have trauma. I'm struggling. And they're willing to take a step back from a lot of things. But in a whole lot of cases, what we see is that people just kind of stay there, where it's okay. And you might even be aware that there's this disconnect going on inside of you, but maybe people aren't really quite as sure what to do with that. Once you just disconnect from everyone and everything, you delete the Instagram, you take some time away, whatever it is. Do you really come back and connect, though, in a healthier way? And that's one of the things that I really think, for anybody that's listening here today, church it kind of gets pigeonholed in some ways into like, well, this is the thing that you do. It's just go, hear a message, sing a song, leave. But really, we see ourselves at Paradox as a connection hub. That really is trying to connect a whole lot of different areas of life. And mental health is really a big part of that. We want to help people grow as people, as humans, the people that they were created to be. And it's not just mental. It's not just physical. That's many times we just pigeonhole one of those things and go, this is the thing. I need to join the gym. Yeah. But there's a whole lot of different things. There's mental, yes, there's physical, there's social, there's also spiritual. And so how do we connect these different parts of life to be healthy, whole people? Mm-hmm. That's a big part of what we do at Paradox.
Yeah. No, like I said, that's one of the things that I've noticed a ton. Obviously, we had the event that took place on Saturday too. That was the other thing. Was the World Mandate.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, which was it's World Mandate, bro.
Dude, I'm looking forward.
I gotcha.
What happened Saturday?
But no, it was really good getting into World Mandate. For those of you who don't know, World Mandate is a conference that takes place every year. We're a part of a movement of churches called the Antioch Movement. And the Antioch Movement, really the goal behind this is to make Jesus's name known, right? Like to bring his name out and to bring it into people's lives, and because he has the ability to change it in some really amazing ways. And so obviously that's a part of our heart too. And I know it's yours as well. When it comes to that connection and obviously there's ways to make a difference. What are some of the ways that you're passionate about and you're going after in this season? I know some of them, but I want you to be able to share kind of like, okay, what are they? Obviously there's the mental health of people, but tangible, like, hey, how can I get involved in this? Or, hey, I'm one of those people who needs that connection that you're talking about. How can I get involved in this? How can I do that?
Yeah, I guess a bridge into answering your question would be the disconnect of isolation that people feel now. We're more connected than ever before, and yet people are lonelier than ever before. We're depressed more than ever before, and that's because there's not real healthy relational connection, and definitely not with people that are different from you. If we have friends, which many people just don't. That's why so many people are paying for things like a life coach or something. And there's nothing wrong with that. But this used to be the thing that friends would do. Like, hey, can I tell you honestly something about you instead of just being a yes man in your life? And so it's really important. If you want to grow and become whole as a person, nobody's able to do that alone. You need other people in your life. And specifically, you might need people in your life that are different from you. And many times people don't really think about church as being a place where you can connect with people that are different from you. But let me tell you, when you get a group of broken people together, all of who you might be coming from different perspective, different experiences, different race, different ideologies, that can get messy. But ultimately, it's a really good thing, because what it does is it helps you grow as a person, and it now connects you to different people and different perspectives and the issues and the causes that you're going to be able to have an impact in, because you're exposed to different things that are outside of just your realm of experience, your Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, your household problems. You start to see and feel and care about the issues that are in your community as you meet your neighbors, as you meet people that see the world differently than you and have different experiences. You can start to care about those things. And we believe that God's going to actually is kind of ordaining that, like putting that connection into your life so that he can do something in you, but then also God can do something through you in that situation. And so that's where World Mandate Making a Difference comes in. We really believe that church is a place that we want to connect people to those passion points, to the places where they can actually contribute and make a difference, and not just go to church and consume something. We want to see our church be a place that would say, the community around us would say, we are so glad that this church exists because our community and our world is better because of it. And a whole lot of times we don't really think of that. I know, like, we know the way that church is perceived by a whole lot of people, and a whole lot of that's right. You know, we've been very, very imperfect. And yet, historically, the church has been a part of some of the greatest things, some of the greatest contributions, not just here in America. I'm talking about schools and hospitals, but around the world. Church is full of some of the most generous, dedicated, compassionate people that I know. Yeah, there's broken people as well. But that's part of the beauty of it, is that you don't have to get it all together for God to use you. Is that even in your journey towards healing and wholeness, God is using those things to do something in the world. And so, I mean, you asked specifically about some of the things that we want to see. We live in the Metro Detroit area, and it doesn't take a whole lot to see that this is one of the most segregated places in the entire country. All you have to do is look at a map, and it's almost like, the grid of 8 Mile, 16 Mile, Hall Road. You can see those lines of segregation. And so we really believe that the way that Jesus lived is actually a roadmap to connecting and loving people that were very, very different from him. Jesus dealt with different races, different groups and ideologies, even in his closest friends, his closest group. So the way that he did that is a roadmap for us to be able to do that. And we believe that we have something that we can give to schools, to government, different businesses and everything, just to see a greater degree of unity that everybody wants. Everybody wants to see that. And it actually is possible if we're willing to think about it in a different way. We also want to see people, I kind of mentioned getting outside of that, and I know it sounds awful, but just the self-centeredness of so many times we have anxiety and depression because all we can see is the stuff that's going on in our own life. But when you start to take a look at some of the other things around that are going on around us, Turkey would be a great example. With the earthquake in Turkey and Syria, we are connected to a group of churches, as you mentioned, that is connected all throughout the world. And so because of that, we're able to do and accomplish more together than we would if we were on our own. We don't have to throw up a GoFundMe or research on Google. What can I do? We have people that are actually on the ground in Turkey right now, responding to this natural disaster. And we are training people up and getting ready to go, because we always do this. We're always connected. We're always praying for acts of mercy. We're always equipping people to go. We're always giving towards these causes so that people can be in these regions doing the work on a regular basis so that we can actually respond when the time comes.
Yeah. No, I think that's awesome. And I want to be clear on this for anybody who's listening. The point of having Dave, my friend and pastor of Paradox, on the podcast today was not as a means of raising up Paradox. There are a lot of churches in the Metro Detroit area that are doing these exact same things. And quite honestly, like, just to lift you guys up too, here's my perspective on this, and where the reason having you on somebody that I know, trust, and love when it comes to being able to share this well, and what it is that God is doing in this region and what he's doing around the world, and how we can be a part of it and partake and be a contributor in that in the world. The point of having you on this is because I sell houses, right? Like, that's my goal. That's what I'm all about. That's my profession, right? I love Jesus on top of that. And so if there's a way for me to take these two things and marry them by, somebody moving to Macomb Township or Warren or Centerline, or bringing them up to my area in Richmond or Armada or Romeo, and being able to have a solid, hey, I know because of the community that I have at Paradox is connected to this community here. It's easy to just go, hey, this is the idea. I don't want to just put you in a house. I want to put you in a community. I want to put you in a district, in a school district that you want to be in and you want to grow relationships in. And even more so than that, I want to put you in a church where you're able to love the people around you, and the people around you are able to love you, and you're able to grow spiritually, like you said, in such a way that it's conducive to being somebody who's a contributor to our world in a positive way. So I just really wanted to hit on that and bring that up.
Well, and that's the challenge for so many people. A lot of times we get in this mindset, and it's not just with church, it's with a lot of different things. If you approach a relationship or a business or a church, only looking at what can I get out of this? We all know those people like that. That's needy. That's a little bit self-centered, and you don't end up getting a whole lot out of it when that's what you're looking for. Instead, people say all the time, you're going to get what you give. So what you put out there, to put it in a slightly different way, what you put out there has a way of coming back to you. And if we're after connection, if we're after really like reconnecting the parts of ourselves that are broken, connecting with other people in meaningful ways, and then connecting to purpose, that out in the world, hey, this is my passion. These are my gifts. How can I use them to make my community or this world a better place? Then that's never going to be fully realized if we are so self-centered and just looking in. We have to look at ourselves and go, hey, I want to contribute. I want to put something out there. And then this is the crazy kind of way of Jesus of going, you end up, when you give, getting even more in return. And so we're not talking about finances. That's a very, very small part of it. We're just talking about life, like approaching church, relationships, your neighborhood, community, as it's being somebody that takes initiative and saying, I want to contribute. I want to give. I want to connect. And I want to help others do that too. And in doing that, you end up finding that you're the one that receives as well. You find the healing, you find the friendship, you find the purpose. And that's the beauty of it. Yeah, Paradox is not the only place that's doing this. I actually said to Rory, I don't want to come in here and do an advertisement for Paradox. What I do want to do is help people connect with God and connect in community and connect to their purpose in this life to make a difference. And there's a whole lot of really great churches that are doing that.
Yeah.
My encouragement to anybody is find one of those. Find a good church where you can actually connect with and contribute.
Yeah.
And if Paradox is it, man, we'd love to see you.
Yeah. I love it. I think we need to end on that. I think that was awesome, man. I think it's great. Anybody out there who, they see this and might have some more questions, or maybe they want to connect with you over a beer or cigar or something. Dave's a big cigar guy, so bring one for him. But maybe they just want to connect with you. How might they go about doing that?
Yeah, I would say that the best way, you can find out phone numbers, emails and stuff on paradoxchurch.com. But the best way would be in person. Show up on a Sunday morning at 10 a.m. I'd love, if you do, come on up, say hi, shake my hand. We'll set up a time to go out and grab a beer.
I love it. I love it. Thanks so much, man. I really appreciate you coming in and being a part of the podcast today. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Guys, thank you so much for joining us on today's episode of Tuesdays with Rory. You guys have an awesome day, and we'll talk to you here soon. See ya.